The backpack sat alone on the subway bench, its frayed straps and faded patches standing out against the sterile plastic seats. A few feet away, commuters edged away, casting nervous glances at the unattended bag. A woman in a business suit clutched her purse tighter. A teenager nudged his friend and nodded toward it, eyebrows raised. Probably just forgot it, the friend muttered, though he didn't sound convinced. Then the murmurs started. Who leaves a bag like that just sitting there? Should we call someone? Looks like something a homeless guy would carry. A transit officer, Officer Ruiz, approached with measured steps, her hand resting on her radio. She was young for the job, but her sharp eyes missed nothing. The crowd parted for her, relief already settling on their faces. She crouched beside the backpack, examining it without touching. No wires, no odd bulges, just the faint smell of old paper and something metallic. Carefully, she unzipped the main compartment. Inside wasn't a bomb, not drugs, not even clothes. Instead, nestled between crumpled newspapers and a half-empty water bottle, was a strange device, a mess of circuits and wires, held together with duct tape and what looked like repurposed medical tubing. A small LED blinked lazily on its side. Ruiz frowned. She'd seen enough suspicious packages in her time to know this didn't fit the usual profile. But before she could call it in, a voice cut through the murmurs. "That's mine." A man stood at the edge of the crowd, hands raised slightly in surrender. His clothes were worn but clean, his beard unevenly trimmed. His eyes, though sharp and alert, locked onto the device in Ruiz's hands with something like desperation. The crowd tensed. Someone whispered, "Sketchy." Ruiz straightened, keeping her body between the man and the backpack. "You left this unattended in a public space. You know the rules." The man swallowed hard. "I know. I had to use the bathroom. I thought it'd be safe for 2 minutes." His voice was quiet, frayed at the edges. A man in a suit scoffed. "Right? Like we're supposed to believe that." Ruiz ignored him, studying the stranger. "What is this?" She gestured to the device. The man hesitated. "It's a prototype." "Prototype for what?" He glanced at the staring faces around them, then back at Ruiz. "For filtering water. Portable. Low cost. I've been testing it." A beat of silence. Then laughter, short, disbelieving. "Sure," the suited man sneered. "Homeless guy's got a water filter in his bag. Next he'll say it cures cancer." The stranger's jaw tightened, but he didn't rise to the bait. Instead, he reached slowly into his pocket. The crowd flinched. Ruiz's fingers twitched toward her radio. But all he pulled out was a folded stack of papers, water-stained, covered in cramped handwriting and diagrams. He held them out to Ruiz. "Patent applications," he said quietly. "Drafts. Notes. I've been working on this for years." Ruiz took the papers, scanning them. The sketches matched the device in the bag. Equations filled the margins. And at the top of one page, a name, Dr. Elias Varga, Ph.D. Biomedical Engineering, ***. Her head snapped up. The man, **Dr. Varga**, met her gaze steadily. Around them, the crowd's skepticism wavered. Then the suited man snorted. "Like some bum has a Ph.D. Probably stole those, too." Ruiz ignored him. "You're saying this thing works?" Varga nodded. "It can turn contaminated water into drinkable in under a minute. No chemicals. No expensive parts. I've been testing it in the shelters, but..." He broke off, glancing at the device in her hands. "I need to get it back. Please." Ruiz hesitated. The crowd watched, waiting for her verdict. Then the radio at her hip crackled to life. "All units, be advised. Reports of a male matching the description of a wanted suspect last seen near the 14th Street station. Armed and dangerous. Approach with caution." The description that followed, height, build, even the worn jacket, matched the man in front of her. Varga's face paled. "That's not me." The suited man took a step back. "I knew it." Ruiz's grip tightened on the radio. The crowd scattered, some pulling out phones to film. And in that moment, Dr. Varga did the last thing anyone expected. He ran. Ruiz reacted on instinct, shouting into her radio as she sprinted after him. Varga wove through the station with surprising agility, dodging startled commuters. The backpack swung wildly from his shoulder, the device inside rattling. "Stop. Now," Ruiz barked, gaining ground. Varga glanced back, not with fear, but something closer to frustration. "You don't understand. Asterisk, they'll take it. Asterisk. He ducked through a service door. Ruiz barely caught it before it slammed shut, bursting into a dimly lit maintenance hallway. The air smelled of grease and damp concrete. Varga was already halfway down the corridor. Listen to me, Ruiz called, slowing to a jog. If you're innocent, stop running. He skidded to a halt, shoulders heaving. When he turned, his expression was raw. Innocent doesn't matter. Not to them. To who? Before he could answer, a metallic clang echoed from the far end of the hallway. A door flung open, revealing two men in unmarked black jackets. Varga's breath hitched. Asterisk them, asterisk. Ruiz frowned. They weren't transit cops. Not NYPD. And the way they moved, too coordinated, too focused on Varga, set off every alarm in her head. The taller man pulled something from his pocket. A badge? No, a ID card with a corporate logo Ruiz didn't recognize. Dr. Varga, the man called, his voice smooth. We just want to talk. Varga backed up until his shoulders hit the wall. Like you talked to my lab partner? Like you talked to my funding team? Ruiz stepped between them, hand on her baton. Sir, I need you to identify yourself. The man ignored her, his gaze locked on Varga. That prototype doesn't belong to you. You signed the contracts. Hand it over, and this ends quietly. Ruiz's pulse spiked. Contracts? Varga's laugh was hollow. You mean the contracts your lawyers buried in 50 pages of fine print? The ones that said my work was your property if I used any company resources. He clutched the backpack tighter. I built the first model in my apartment, with my tools. You don't get to steal it just because you bought the university lab after the fact. The corporate men exchanged glances. The shorter one reached inside his jacket. Ruiz's baton was out in an instant. Don't even think about it. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then, a crash from above. A ceiling panel gave way, and a figure dropped between them. Asterisk, another asterisk corporate enforcer, landing in a crouch. Varga didn't wait. He bolted for a side door, yanking Ruiz with him. Asterisk move, asterisk. They burst onto an empty platform just as a train screeched to a stop. Varga shoved Ruiz through the nearest doors seconds before they closed. The corporate men slammed against the glass, mouths twisted in silent fury as the train pulled away. Ruiz whirled on Varga. Asterisk, what the hell is going on? Asterisk. Passengers stared. Varga lowered his voice. 3 years ago, I developed a water purification system that could change the world. Cheap. Scalable. No patents locking it behind paywalls. He exhaled sharply. Then HydraCorp bought my research department. Suddenly, my notes were company property. My prototypes, confidential. When I refused to hand over the final design, they froze my accounts. Had me evicted. Made sure no legit lab would hire me. Ruiz's stomach twisted. So you've been living on the streets? Safer than letting them find the prototype. His fingers tapped the backpack. This is the last one. The working model. If they get it, they'll bury the tech and sell their own overpriced version. Millions will keep dying from dirty water while they profit. The train rattled onward. Ruiz studied him, the calloused hands, the dark circles under his eyes, the certainty in his voice. Her radio crackled again. Officer Ruiz, respond. Suspect last seen boarding downtown 6 train. Detained for questioning. Varga tensed. Ruiz made her choice. She switched off the radio. The train's fluorescent lights flickered as it plunged into a tunnel, casting jagged shadows across Dr. Varga's exhausted face. Officer Ruiz kept her body angled between him and the other passengers, her fingers drumming a nervous rhythm on her holstered radio. The silence between them stretched like a live wire. You realize I just committed career suicide, Ruiz muttered, eyeing a teenager across the aisle who kept glancing their way. Varga wiped his palms on his frayed jeans. You could still turn me in. Say I threatened you. And let HydraCorp bury that thing. She nodded at the backpack clutched in his white-knuckled grip. I grew up in the Bronx. Saw kids get sick from lead pipes. If your device does half what you claim. The train screeched to a stop. 3 stations since they'd boarded. Ruiz counted the seconds until departure, watching the platform through rain-streaked windows. No black jackets. Not yet. Varga leaned closer, his breath smelling of stale coffee. They'll have people at every exit by now. Corporate security has NYPD on speed dial. Ruiz's badge suddenly felt heavy on her chest. She made a decision. Next stop, we transfer to the J line. My cousin runs a bodega near Broadway Junction. Back room's got a freezer door hidden behind inventory. Varga's eyebrows shot up. You've got a secret hideout? Puerto Rican families know how to prepare for trouble. The ghost of a smile touched her lips before dying. But we need to lose any tails first. As the door slid open, a commotion erupted at the far end of the car. A woman screamed. All heads turned as a fight broke out. Two men shoving each other, blocking the aisle. Too convenient. Ruiz's cop instincts screamed diversion. She grabbed Varga's wrist. Now, other door. They slipped out as the crowd focused on the altercation. Ruiz kept her head down, steering them through the press of bodies on the platform. Behind them, a sharp voice cut through the noise. There. Eastbound stairs. Ruiz risked a glance back. 3 men in dark windbreakers shoved through the crowd. Not the same ones from before. HydraCorp had more teams in play. The J train waited across the platform, doors already beeping their closing warning. They'd never make it. Follow my lead, Ruiz hissed. She suddenly wheeled on Varga, grabbing his collar with theatrical force. I said hands where I can see them, dirtbag. Passengers scattered as she arrested him, marching him backward toward a maintenance alcove. The HydraCorp men hesitated, confused by the apparent police action. The alcove door was locked. Ruiz pounded on it. Transit police. Open up. A grizzled maintenance worker cracked the door. Ruiz flashed her badge. Pursuit in progress. Need your tunnel access. The man took one look at her face and stepped aside. As the door slammed shut behind them, the shouts of their pursuers muffled through the metal. Clever, Varga breathed. Keep moving. Ruiz led them down a narrow service corridor, the concrete walls slick with condensation. Somewhere ahead, the distant rumble of another train vibrated through the floor. The worker kept pace. You ain't cops. But I seen that look before. He jerked his chin at Varga. They after him, or you? Both now, Ruiz admitted. The man grunted, then veered left at a junction. This way. Leads to Old Track 9. Been closed for repairs. The air grew thicker, laced with the tang of oxidized metal. Emergency lights cast a sickly glow over abandoned repair equipment. Varga's sneakers slipped on gravel as they descended a rusted staircase. Ruiz's radio suddenly crackled to life despite being powered off. A voice emerged, laced with static. Tracking your signal, officer. Don't make this worse. They froze. Varga's face went ashen. They've got tech that can hijack police bands. The maintenance worker spat. Money buys scary toys. He stopped before a heavy door marked high voltage. Through here. Runs parallel to the J line. Comes up near Marcy Avenue. As the door creaked open, a new sound echoed through the tunnels. Boots on metal grating. Close. Ruiz drew her weapon for the first time. Go. Both of you. Varga grabbed her arm. You can't. I'm the one with a badge and a gun. She shook him off. Get that prototype somewhere safe. I'll hold them off. The maintenance worker didn't wait, dragging Varga into the high-voltage tunnel. The door clanged shut just as the first black-jacketed figure rounded the corner. Ruiz recognized the lead enforcer from the platform. Cold eyes, military posture. He slowed at the sight of her drawn pistol. Officer Ruiz, he said smoothly. We have authorization to. Show me a warrant or get the hell out of my tunnels. Her voice didn't shake. A minor miracle. The enforcer's smile didn't reach his eyes. He reached slowly into his jacket. Ruiz's finger tensed on the trigger. Then the lights went out. Complete darkness swallowed the corridor. Ruiz dropped to a crouch as shouts erupted. A scuffle. Something metal clattered to the ground. A hand grabbed her shoulder. She nearly fired before recognizing the maintenance worker's whisper. Play along. Suddenly, she was being pulled backward through another hidden panel. The door sealed behind them with a hiss of pressurized air. Dim work lights revealed a cramped control room. Monitors showing security feeds. Varga hunched over a circuit breaker. Subway's got secrets even HydraCorp doesn't know. The worker grunted, throwing a massive switch. Somewhere, a generator roared to life. On the monitors, the enforcers stumbled in the dark. One pulled out a phone, its glow illuminating his furious face as he barked orders. Varga wiped grease from his hands. Bought us 10 minutes, maybe. The old tracks connect to a freight line that. Ruiz's radio crackled again, but this time the voice was different. Younger. Female. If you can hear this, we're tracking HydraCorp's comms. They've got drones going up near Broadway Junction. Varga's head snapped up. Lena. The voice sharpened. Elias? Oh, thank God. They've been jamming my. Static swallowed the rest. Ruiz stared. More allies. My former grad student. Varga's eyes shone. She must have rebuilt the signal tracker from my notes. The maintenance worker threw open a rusted equipment locker, revealing a tangle of subway worker uniforms. Change. Now. We're going topside. As Ruiz shrugged into oversized coveralls, the worker pressed a key into her hand. Storage Unit 42 at the Atlantic Terminal. Got tools, cash, burner phones. He hesitated. And a piece, if you need it. She met his gaze. Why help us? The man nodded to a faded photo taped to the wall, a younger version of himself standing with a little girl in front of a water pump. Santo Domingo, 04. My niece died from cholera. Bad water. His jaw tightened. If that man's gadget could have saved her. Ruiz squeezed his shoulder. No more words needed. Varga adjusted a work helmet over his shaggy hair. HydraCorp's got the station exits watched. How do we? An alarm suddenly blared through the control room. On the monitors, new figures swarmed the platforms. NYPD officers in full tactical gear. Damn, the worker muttered. They called in real cops. Ruiz's stomach dropped. Her former colleagues. People who'd trust her badge without question. Varga grabbed the prototype tighter. We're trapped. Not yet. Ruiz moved to the monitors, studying the feeds. There's one exit they won't guard. She pointed to a service elevator marked Waste Management. Garbage chute empties into a DEP processing barge on the East River. Varga paled. You want us to jump in the river? Better than a cell. She turned to the worker. Can you trigger a diversion? Something to pull the cops left while we go right. The man grinned, revealing a gold tooth. Kid, I've been working transit since the 90s. His fingers flew across an ancient control board. Ever seen a fake track fire? Sirens wailed as orange lights began flashing across the monitors. On one feed, smoke poured from a ventilation grate. Cops and enforcers alike scrambled toward the apparent emergency. Go, the worker urged. And don't let them bastards win. The service elevator groaned as it descended, the stench of rotting garbage rising with each floor. Varga gagged, pressing his face into his sleeve. Ruiz focused on counting seconds, 30 until they hit bottom. At floor B5, the elevator shuddered to a stop. The doors opened onto a cavernous waste transfer station. Mountains of trash bags awaited compaction. The river glinted through an open loading dock. They'd taken 3 steps when floodlights pinned them in place. Freeze. NYPD. Ruiz's heart stopped. A dozen officers stood in firing positions. And at their center, her precinct captain, a man who'd attended her graduation from the academy. Captain Reyes' face hardened as he recognized her. Maria? What the hell are you mixed up in? Before she could answer, a new voice cut through the tension. A HydraCorp executive in a $3,000 suit pushing through the police line. Thank you, Captain. We'll take it from here. Reyes didn't budge. This is a police matter, Mr. Vaughn. The executive's smile was all teeth. He held up a tablet showing official-looking documents. Federal Intellectual Property Case. Homeland Security Jurisdiction. The screen flashed a seal Ruiz recognized, the kind that got local cops to stand down fast. Varga whispered, they're lying. That's not. Ruiz silenced him with a look. She addressed her captain. Sir, this man's invention could save thousands of lives. HydraCorp wants to bury it for profit. Vaughn scoffed. Officer, you've been deceived. Dr. Varga is a disgruntled former employee who stole. A garbage truck suddenly reversed into the loading bay with a deafening beep. All heads turned as it backed perilously close to the police line. Then the world exploded in noise and light. The truck's compactor activated with a hydraulic scream. Trash bags burst like popcorn. A fire extinguisher someone had tossed in the hopper detonated, filling the air with choking powder. Through the chaos, the maintenance worker's voice boomed from the cab. Move your asses. Ruiz didn't hesitate. She yanked Varga toward the dock's edge. The river waded 20 feet below, its surface oily under the moonlight. Vaughn's scream followed them. Stop them. They jumped as the first bullets hit the water. The East River swallowed them whole, its icy current pulling them under before they could gasp for air. Ruiz's police vest became an anchor, dragging her deeper into the dark. She clawed at the straps, her lungs burning, until suddenly, blessed release. The weight fell away and she kicked toward the shimmering surface. She broke through with a ragged gasp, spinning in the water to spot Varga. 10 yards downstream. His head bobbed like a cork, the backpack still miraculously strapped to him. The prototype's LED blinked underwater like a tiny blue ghost. Ruiz, he choked out, pointing behind her. She turned just as a spotlight sliced across the river. The barge's crew shouted, scrambling to lower a rescue boat. More lights appeared on shore, police, HydraCorp, all converging on their splashdown point. A floating pallet bumped Ruiz's shoulder. She grabbed it, kicking toward Varga. We need to disappear before. A gunshot cracked across the water. The pallet splintered next to her hand. Go under, she screamed. They dove as more shots peppered the surface. The salt water stung Ruiz's eyes as she swam blind, following the rhythmic flashes from Varga's device. The current carried them past the barge, under a crumbling pier where barnacles tore at their clothes. When they surfaced again, the shouts had grown distant. They clung to a moss-slick piling, gasping. Varga coughed up river water. They'll have drones scanning the banks. Ruiz scanned the shoreline. Beyond the industrial wasteland, the glowing skyline of Brooklyn promised crowds to vanish into. But getting there meant crossing 200 yards of open water with armed men at both ends. Then she saw it, a shadow moving against the current, a dark shape cutting through the water toward them. Get ready to dive again, she warned. But as it neared, the shape resolved into something unexpected, a teenage boy in a wetsuit paddling a stand-up board. He froze when he spotted them. For a long moment, nobody moved. The boy's gaze flicked from Ruiz's badge, still miraculously pinned to her soaked uniform, to Varga's battered face. You're those people from the news, he whispered. The cop and the scientist they're trying to kill. Ruiz's hand drifted toward where her service weapon should have been. Lost in the river. We don't want trouble. The boy, couldn't have been more than 16, chewed his lip. Then, with sudden decision, he slid off the board. Take it. There's a kayak rental dock under the Manhattan Bridge. Tell my cousin Malik that Dion sent you. Varga hesitated. Why help us? The kid shrugged. My little brother got sick last summer. Lead pipes in our building. He nodded at the backpack. If that thing really cleans water. Another spotlight swept the river. Time was up. They boarded awkwardly, Ruiz kneeling at the front while Varga clutched the backpack between them. The boy gave them a push toward the opposite shore before vanishing beneath the surface like an otter. Paddling with their hands, they made agonizingly slow progress. Every splash sounded deafening. Twice, drone searchlights passed overhead, forcing them to freeze until the beams moved on. The kayak dock was a rickety affair hidden in the bridge's shadow. A lanky man smoking a cigarette nearly fell into the water when they emerged dripping before him. Malik, Ruiz rasped. The man's eyes widened. Holy shit. You're. Dion sent us. We need to get uptown. Malik stubbed out his cigarette with trembling fingers. Lady, every cop in the city's looking for you. There's $100,000 bounty just for tips. Varga unzipped the backpack just enough to show the blinking device. This can filter lead, cholera, even PFAS chemicals. HydraCorp wants to bury it because they sell $10,000 industrial systems that do the same thing slower. For a breathless moment, Malik just stared. Then he grabbed 2 bike helmets from a rack. My food delivery rig's around back. It's got thermal blankets in the cargo box. Might fool the drone cams. The electric cargo bike had seen better days, its battery pack held together with duct tape. Malik helped them cram into the storage compartment, piling blankets and insulated food bags on top. Don't breathe until we're past the checkpoint, he warned, closing the lid. The world became dark and suffocating. The bike hummed to life, vibrations rattling Ruiz's teeth as they moved. Through tiny gaps in the cargo box, strobing blue lights pulsed. A voice yelled, "Hey, delivery guy." The bike slowed. Ruiz's hand found Varga's wrist. Both held their breath. Seen anyone suspicious? The cop asked. Malik's voice stayed casual. Just drunk tourists, officer. You know how the bridge gets. A pause. Then, keep your eyes open. These suspects are dangerous. The bike accelerated. 5 blocks. 10. Finally, Malik cracked the lid. We're clear. They emerged in an alley behind a halal cart. The night smelled of lamb grease and garbage. Malik handed them hoodies from his delivery stash. Where to now, he asked. Ruiz wrung river water from her hair. Somewhere with computers and privacy. We need to get that prototype schematics out where HydraCorp can't suppress them. Varga coughed. I know a place. But it's risky. Risky how? He hesitated. The Hacksmith Collective. Underground tech collective in Bushwick. They hate corporations almost as much as they hate cops. Ruiz snorted. Perfect. Malik's phone buzzed. He paled as he read the alert. They just issued a citywide bolo for you two. Armed and dangerous. He showed the screen. Their faces, official NYPD bulletins. Ruiz's stomach dropped. Her own department was calling her a rogue officer. Worse, the alert included a chilling addendum. Consider suspects in possession of hazardous materials. Vargas slammed his fist against a dumpster. That's their play. They'll claim the prototype is a bioweapon to justify a shoot-to-kill order. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Malik shoved the bike's keys into Ruiz's hand. Take it. I'll text the Hacksmith address to burners in the handlebar bag. Ruiz hesitated. You'll be an accessory now. The delivery man grinned. My uncle spent 3 months in the hospital from that Legionnaire's outbreak in the Bronx. Fuck HydraCorp. He tossed them 2 surgical masks. Wear these. And ditch the badge, officer. The bike's electric motor whined as they wove through back streets, its cargo box now conspicuously empty. Varga clung to Ruiz's waist, the backpack sandwiched between them. Every intersection brought fresh terror. Cops setting up checkpoints, news helicopters circling. Ruiz took a hard left into a construction site, cutting through half-built condos to avoid a roadblock. The bike's tires slipped on loose gravel as they emerged onto a service road. There, Varga pointed to a nondescript warehouse with graffiti murals. The words Smithy glowed faintly above a steel door. They abandoned the bike behind a dumpster. Before they could knock, the warehouse door creaked open. A woman with neon green braids and a shotgun regarded them coolly. Lost pigs. Ruiz showed empty hands. We need. I know what you need. The hacker stepped aside. Lena's been blowing up our feeds for hours looking for you. Document. Inside was a techno wonderland. 3D printers humming, servers stacked to the ceiling, a dozen hackers glued to monitors showing live feeds of the manhunt. One screen zoomed in on HydraCorp CEO Nathan Vaughn giving a press conference outside police headquarters. We'll not rest until this stolen technology is recovered, Vaughn declared, his perfect hair gleaming under camera lights. For public safety, we urge the suspects to surrender the hazardous device immediately. A younger woman with a shaved head and labrate piercing nearly knocked Varga over with her hug. You kept it safe? She grabbed the backpack with reverence. Lena, this is Officer Ruiz, Varga said. She's risking everything to help. Lena's smile vanished. She rounded on Ruiz. You're the reason they found Elias's lab in Queens. Your badge pinged facial recognition at the 74th Street station. Ruiz's blood ran cold. She hadn't considered that. Her police ID, of course HydraCorp had access to city surveillance systems. Varga stepped between them. She didn't know. And she's been shot at just as much as I have tonight. A hacker at a nearby terminal whistled. Yo, you guys need to see this. The main monitor switched to a private security feed, the inside of a HydraCorp lab. Technicians in hazmat suits clustered around a table. That's my research. Varga surged forward. They're trying to reverse engineer the prototype from my notes. Lena cursed. They'll fail. The core algorithm needs organic neural networking, Varga finished. The part one never wrote down. He turned to the collective. We have to publish the schematics now, before they cook up some half-working version and patent it. The green-braided leader cracked her knuckles. How big a file? With full specs? Maybe 20 terabytes. The room groaned. One hacker threw up his hands. That'll take hours to distribute. HydraCorp will have it scrubbed from every host inside 30 minutes. Ruiz studied the security feed still playing. The lab techs looked frustrated, throwing down tools. Then an idea struck her. What if we don't send the files out? Varga frowned. What? She pointed to the screen. What if we send them in? A slow grin spread across Lena's face. Holy shit. We hack their lab systems and upload the plans directly into their own servers. The green-braided leader was already typing furiously. That'll leave a forensic trail even their lawyers can't erase. Proof they had access to the tech all along. Vargas squeezed Ruiz's shoulder. You're a genius. She shook her head. Just a cop who knows how cover-ups work. Then a thought struck her. Wait, if we do this, there's no going back. HydraCorp will come after everyone in this room. The hackers exchanged glances. Then, as one, They turned to their keyboards. The leader smirked. We've been waiting for a fight like this. As the upload began, a new alert flashed on screen. NYPD, SWAT teams mobilizing. Thermal drones sweeping Bushwick. And worst of all, Vaughn whispering to an aide, his microphone picking up the deadly words. Just get me that backpack. Alive doesn't matter anymore. The warehouse's lights flickered as the hackers worked. Somewhere outside, a car backfired. Everyone froze until it became clear, not gunfire. Not yet. Ruiz checked the bike's burner phone. 3:17 a.m. The darkest hour before dawn. Varga met her gaze across the buzzing servers. No words needed. However this ended, it would be over by sunrise. The warehouse air hummed with tension as the hackers worked, fingers flying across keyboards in a synchronized dance of code. The blinking LED on Varga's prototype cast eerie blue shadows across their faces as he connected it to the main server with trembling hands. Firewall's tougher than we thought, muttered the hacker with green braids. Jade, they'd called her. Sweat beaded on her forehead as lines of code scrolled across 3 monitors simultaneously. Lena leaned over her shoulder, pointing at a string of numbers. There, that's their backdoor. The idiots reused the same encryption keys from their 2020 breach. Ruiz paced behind them, her damp socks squelching in borrowed sneakers. Every nerve screamed at her to watch the doors, the windows, the air vents, any possible entry point. The burner phone in her pocket weighed a ton with its unread alerts. Varga wiped grease from the prototype's connectors. How much longer? 10 minutes to crack their mainframe, Jade said. Then we can. Alarms blared from every terminal at once. Red warning boxes popped up like bloodstains across the screens. Breach detected. A hacker yelled from the corner. They're tracing us. Lena's face went pale under her neon workstation lights. That's impossible. We're routing through 12 proxy. Jade slammed her fist on the desk. They've got quantum tracking. Must have upgraded after last year's attack. She whirled to face Ruiz. You need to go? Now. Outside, the distant wail of sirens grew louder. Too many. Too close. Ruiz grabbed Varga's arm. We'll draw them away. Keep uploading. Lena shoved a hard drive into Ruiz's hands. Schematics are on here too. Redundant backups. Her fingers lingered a second too long. Don't get caught. The fire escape groaned under their weight as they climbed down into the alley. The night smelled of ozone and rotting Chinese takeout. Somewhere nearby, a car door slammed. Varga pointed to a rusted maintenance ladder across the street. Roof access. We can cross 3 buildings before they. A spotlight pinned them like insects. Freeze. NYPD. Ruiz reacted on instinct, shoving Varga behind a dumpster as the first bullets sparked off brickwork. The spotlight came from an armored SWAT vehicle blocking the alley's mouth. Behind it, shadowy figures advanced in tactical formation. Varga fumbled with the hard drive. They'll shoot us in the back. Ruiz's cop brain analyzed the kill zone. No cover, no exits, perfect enfilade. Then she spotted it, a manhole cover 6 feet away. On my mark, she breathed. Run for the sewer. The SWAT leader barked orders through a megaphone. Last warning. Show hands. Ruiz waited for the spotlight to swing left. Now, they dove as the shooting resumed. The manhole cover screeched as Varga heaved it aside. The stench of raw sewage wafted up as they dropped into darkness. The fall knocked the wind from Ruiz's lungs. She landed knee-deep in foul-smelling water, the hard drive miraculously still clutched in her fist. Somewhere above, boots pounded on pavement. Varga gagged beside her. Which way? The tunnel branched in 3 directions. Ruiz pointed left where a faint glow pulsed, the telltale flicker of construction lights. Active worksite means street access. They sloshed through the muck, shoulders brushing the narrow walls. The sounds of pursuit faded behind them, replaced by the drip of water and skittering of rats. Every 50 feet, another ladder led up to the surface, but Ruiz pushed them forward. The glow intensified until they rounded a bend and froze. The tunnel opened into a massive DEP work chamber, and it was occupied. 3 HydraCorp security guards stood around a portable generator, their rifles propped against a stack of orange barrels. A 4th man in a lab coat studied something on a tablet. Varga sucked in a breath. That's my prototype's frequency signature. They're scanning for the LED pulse. Ruiz pulled him back into shadow. The guards were setting up some kind of relay station, cables snaking up a maintenance shaft. Blocking our signal, Varga whispered. If they jam the upload. A radio crackled. Team 3, report. One guard answered. Still negative on the target. Interference matrix at 80%. The lab coat adjusted his glasses. Push it to full. Vaughn wants that prototype dark before it hits the cloud. Ruiz's fingers found a loose brick in the tunnel wall. She weighed it in her palm, then pointed to a rusty pipe overhead. Varga nodded understanding. The brick sailed across the chamber, clattering behind the generator. As the guards turned toward the noise, Varga jumped, grabbing the pipe. It broke free in a shower of rust, swinging down to smash the relay equipment in a shower of sparks. Go! Ruiz yanked Varga past the startled guards, through the work chamber and into the opposite tunnel. Shouts and gunfire echoed behind them as they sprinted through ankle-deep sludge. The tunnel curved upward, the air growing fresher. A ladder led to a street grate. Ruiz climbed first, peering through the slots. They'd emerged near the Morgan Avenue L train stop. Dawn tinted the sky purple. The street was empty except for a lone food delivery cyclist locking up his bike. Ruiz heaved the grate aside. Clear. They emerged like sewer rats, drawing stares from early morning commuters. The cyclist took one look at their filthy clothes and crossed the street. Varga checked the hard drive. Still intact. But we need internet access they can't trace. A subway train rumbled underground. Across the tracks, a 24-hour internet cafe's neon sign buzzed. Cyberspace. $2/HR and no questions. Ruiz dug soggy bills from her pocket. There. The cafe smelled of stale energy drinks and sweat. A teenager at the counter barely glanced up from his game as they paid for a corner terminal. Varga's fingers flew across the keyboard. Jade got the schematics 70% uploaded before we lost connection. The screen flickered. A chat window popped up, unbidden. Unknown user * stop typing, doctor. Ruiz reached for the power cord. Unknown user * disconnect, and Lena dies. Security camera footage appeared, Lena handcuffed to a chair in what looked like a HydraCorp interrogation room. Blood trickled from her nose. Varga's hands hovered over the keys. They have the collective. The cursor blinked mockingly. Unknown user * bring the prototype to 55, Water Street roof access. 1 hour. Or we start removing fingers. The screen went black. Ruiz studied their reflection in the dead monitor. 2 exhausted fugitives covered in filth. The hard drive felt suddenly heavier. Varga's voice cracked. We can't let them. We won't. Ruiz pocketed the drive. But we're not walking into their trap either. Outside, the city stirred to life. Delivery trucks rumbled past. A street vendor unfolded his umbrella. Normal people starting normal days. Ruiz spotted a payphone outside a bodega. She fed it coins and dialed a number she'd memorized in the academy. Her former partner answered on the first ring. Santos. It's me, Ruiz said softly. A sharp intake of breath. Maria? Jesus Christ, where? Listen carefully. I need you to access case file 4471 from last November. The warehouse raid on Shoals Street. Silence. Then, the counterfeit electronics bust? What's that got to do with? Check the evidence log. Item 19. Keys clacked in the background. Ruiz watched a police cruiser roll past the bodega, heart pounding until it disappeared around the corner. Santos came back on, voice hushed. Signal jammer? Maria, what the hell? Meet me at the old sugar factory in Red Hook. 1 hour. And Santos? Come alone. She hung up before he could respond. Varga stared. You trust him? Not even a little. Ruiz flagged down a gypsy cab. But he's the only one who can get us what we need. As the cab pulled away from the curb, Ruiz watched the cafe's security camera swivel to track them. HydraCorp was watching. And waiting. The game wasn't over yet. The abandoned sugar factory loomed over the Red Hook waterfront like a decaying molar, its broken windows staring blindly across the East River. The gypsy cab dropped them 2 blocks away, the driver refusing to go closer after seeing their disheveled appearance. Ruiz led the way through a gap in the chain-link fence, her borrowed sneakers crunching on broken glass. The pre-dawn light painted everything in shades of gray. Somewhere inside the hollow structure, pigeons flapped wildly through the rafters. Varga clutched the backpack to his chest. You really think your partner will help? Ruiz checked her watch. 5:43 a.m. Santos owes me his life twice over. But HydraCorp's probably got his phone tapped by now. She pointed to a rusted catwalk overhead. You'll wait up there with a clear shot to the river if this goes bad. Varga hesitated. And if it's a trap? Ruiz handed him the hard drive. Then you run. Get these schematics to the New York Times building. Ask for Keller in investigative. A car door slammed in the distance. They froze. Through the skeleton of the factory, Ruiz spotted a familiar figure approaching. Detective Santos in a rumpled blazer, his usual cocky swagger replaced by nervous glances over his shoulder. He carried a black duffel bag. Ruiz gave Varga a push toward the fire escape. Go. She stepped into the open as Santos reached the factory floor. His hand flew to his holster before recognition dawned. Christ, Maria. You look like hell. You brought the jammer? Santos hefted the duffel. Stolen evidence locker property. Now tell me why I shouldn't arrest you right now. His eyes darted to the shadows where Varga hid. That scientists wanted for terrorism now. They're saying that backpack's a biolab. Ruiz kept her hands visible. You've known me 12 years, Tony. Do I look like a terrorist? He studied her face. The dark circles, the chemical burns from the river, the way her shoulders trembled from exhaustion. His grip on the duffel loosened. HydraCorp's got half the department on payroll. The order came down from the deputy mayor's office. Shoot on sight. A pigeon startled overhead, wings clapping like gunshots. Both flinched. Ruiz lowered her voice. That prototype can filter lead from water in 30 seconds flat. Remember your niece in Flint? This could have prevented that. Santos's jaw worked. He unzipped the duffel just enough to reveal a sleek black device resembling a router. Military grade. Covers half a mile radius. But Maria, he glanced around nervously. They've got drones with thermal now. And Vaughn's bringing in private contractors from. A metallic ping echoed through the factory. Someone had kicked a can near the entrance. Santos shoved the duffel at Ruiz. Go. I'll hold them off. She didn't argue. As she sprinted for the fire escape, Santos drew his service weapon and called out, NYPD. Show yourselves. The response came in staccato bursts of automatic gunfire. Ruiz scaled the rusted metal stairs as bullets chewed through the factory's rotting wood floors below. Varga hauled her onto the catwalk just as it collapsed behind them in a shriek of tearing metal. Their flanking left. Varga pointed to movement near the loading docks. Black-clad figures advanced in tactical formation, not police. HydraCorp's private army. Ruiz yanked the jammer from the duffel. Will this interfere with your prototype? Varga examined the blinking LED. If I modify the frequency range, maybe. But we'd need. A bullet sparked off the catwalk railing inches from his head. They ducked as more gunfire peppered their position. Below, Santos lay motionless near a pile of sacks. Ruiz's breath caught. Then she saw his fingers twitch toward his ankle holster. Still alive. Playing possum. Varga tore open the jammer's casing with his teeth. I need wire cutters. Anything metal. Ruiz smashed a fire extinguisher case with her elbow. The aluminum frame yielded a sharp edge. As Varga worked, she peered through the bullet holes in the factory walls. At least 12 hostiles inside now. More outside. And hovering beyond the broken windows, a drone with a distinctive HydraCorp logo, its camera lens rotating like a mechanical eye. Varga connected 2 wires with a spark. Got it. But we'll only get one shot before. The catwalk shuddered. A canister clanked onto the metal grating, tear gas. Ruiz kicked it over the edge just before it erupted, but the damage was done. Their position was compromised. Below, the mercenaries advanced under cover of the smoke. Varga activated the modified jammer. A high-pitched whine built in their ears. The drone outside wobbled, then dropped like a stone. All at once, every electronic device in the factory died, including the mercenaries' radios and night vision. The gunfire ceased as shouts of confusion erupted. Ruiz grabbed Varga's arm. Now, they jumped onto a conveyor belt, sliding down into a mountain of decades-old sugar sacks. The sweet, musty powder exploded around them in a choking cloud as bullets tore through the burlap. A figure loomed through the white haze. Santos, bleeding from his scalp, but standing. He tossed Ruiz his backup pistol. East stairwell's clear. For now. They burst onto the waterfront as the sun crested the Brooklyn skyline. The East River glittered mockingly. No boats. No escape. Then, a miracle. The same delivery cyclist from earlier pedaled past on the bike path, his insulated food bag bouncing. Malik. He braked hard. Holy shit, you're alive. Ruiz didn't question the coincidence. We need to get to 55 Water Street. Malik's face darkened. That's HydraCorp HQ. You'll never get within. A bullet ricocheted off the bike frame. The mercenaries had regrouped. Get on. Malik kicked the stand away. They piled onto the electric cargo bike, Ruiz clinging to the front rack, Vargas straddling the rear with the backpack, Santos limping alongside. The motor whined in protest as Malik punched the throttle. The bike weaved through Red Hook's narrow streets as their pursuers gave chase in black SUVs. Malik took corners so sharp Ruiz's shoes scraped pavement. Battery's dying, he shouted over the wind. A glance at the power gauge confirmed it, red zone. The bike slowed perceptibly. Santos pointed to an approaching subway entrance. There, we can lose them underground. They abandoned the bike as the first SUV rounded the corner. Down the stairs, through the turnstiles, onto a waiting F train with seconds to spare. The doors closed on their pursuers' furious faces. The subway car was nearly empty at this hour. Just a few shift workers and a homeless veteran who took one look at their disheveled group and moved to the next car. Varga checked the prototype. The LED still pulsed weakly. Jammer fried some circuits, but it's intact. Ruiz pressed a hand to Santos's bleeding scalp. Why'd you really come, Tony? He avoided her gaze. Remember that lead poisoning case in Bushwick last year? 18 kids hospitalized. A muscle twitched in his jaw. HydraCorp owned those pipes. Vaughn had the reports buried. The train clattered into the tunnel beneath the East River. For a blessed moment, the chaos above ground didn't exist. Then the lights flickered. The veteran in the next car screamed. A shadow detached itself from the ceiling vents, a figure in high-tech tactical gear rappelling down on cables. More dropped through connecting doors. Sky Marshal units, Santos breathed. Private subway police. HydraCorp must have bought them too. The lead commando's visor reflected their stunned faces as he raised a compact assault rifle. Hand over the device. Final warning. Ruiz's hand found Santos's pistol. 4 bullets left. Against 6 armored hostiles. Vargas suddenly stood, the backpack held high. You want it? Catch. He threw it. Not at the commandos, but through the emergency window between cars. The prototype tumbled toward the tracks as the train hit a curve. Every commando turned toward the window in that fatal moment of distraction. Ruiz fired twice. Santos tackled the nearest foe. Malik yanked the emergency brake. The train screeched violently, throwing everyone to the floor. Lights sparked. Metal groaned. Somewhere, glass shattered. When the world stopped spinning, Ruiz found herself staring at the jammer, now cracked open on the floor, its components spilling out like guts. Varga groaned nearby, clutching his ribs. The commandos were down but not out, already stirring. And worse, through the broken window, the backpack was visible on the tracks, just 20 yards back. Santos hauled Ruiz up. Go? We'll hold them off. Malik produced a switchblade from his sneaker. Been wanting to stick one of these corporate pricks all week. Ruiz didn't argue. She jumped through the shattered window as the first commando regained his feet. The tunnel was darker than hell and twice as hot. The third rail hummed with lethal current inches from where she landed. Somewhere ahead, the backpack's LED blinked like a dying firefly. She crawled toward it as the train's emergency lights cast long shadows. Behind her, the sounds of struggle continued. Grunts, curses, the sickening crunch of bone on metal. Her fingers closed around the backpack strap just as a new sound froze her blood, the distant rumble of an approaching downtown train. The tracks vibrated beneath her palms. The downtown F would come barreling through any second. She turned to see Santos and Malik dragging unconscious commandos from the stalled train. Varga reached for her from the broken window. Maria? Now, the downtown train's headlight appeared around the curve. Ruiz ran. The downtown train's horn screamed through the tunnel like a living thing. Ruiz's fingers scraped against the broken window frame as Varga and Santos hauled her upward with desperate strength. The backpack strap burned against her palm. She wouldn't let go, couldn't let go, even as the approaching headlight painted the tunnel in hellish yellow. Her knees cleared the window just as the train roared past, its slipstream sucking at her legs like greedy hands. The car shuddered violently, throwing everyone to the floor again. For 3 endless seconds, the world narrowed to the deafening clatter of steel on steel and the acrid smell of scorched metal. Then silence. Ruiz rolled onto her back, gasping. The prototype's LED still blinked inside the backpack. Varga's face appeared above her, streaked with blood and soot. "You're insane," he breathed. Santos hauled himself up using a seat back. "They're regrouping." He nodded toward the front of the train where the remaining commandos were stirring. "We need to move." Malik kicked open the emergency door between cars. "Next stop's York Street. Plenty of exits." The platform was deserted when they stumbled off the train, their footsteps echoing too loudly in the cavernous station. Ruiz kept waiting for more commandos to appear, for drones to swoop down, but the only movement came from a lone transit worker mopping near the stairs. Santos checked his watch. Sun's fully up by now. Vaughn's deadline's passed. Varga clutched the backpack tighter. "Which means Lena." A payphone rang. Not the melodic trill of a normal call, but the shrill, insistent alarm of a direct line. The sound cut through the station like a knife. Ruiz approached slowly, her hand hovering over Santos's pistol. She lifted the receiver. "Yeah." The voice that answered was smooth as polished glass. "Officer Ruiz, I admire your persistence. Nathan Vaughn. But this ends now." Through the phone, she heard a muffled whimper. "Lena." Vaughn continued. "You have 30 minutes to bring the prototype to my penthouse. Alone. Or Ms. Carter loses her thumbs. Then her fingers. Then." "I get it," Ruiz snapped. She met Varga's questioning gaze. "We're coming." "Uh-huh. Just you, officer. The good doctor stays where I can see him." The line clicked as Vaughn hung up. Santos grabbed her arm. "It's a kill box. He'll have snipers, gas, everything." Ruiz pried his fingers loose. "You got a better idea?" Malik cleared his throat. "Actually, maybe." He dug a crumpled flyer from his pocket. A tech conference advertisement. "My cousin works security at 55 Water. Says Vaughn's got the whole top floor wired, except." He tapped the building's schematic on the flyer. "Maintenance access here. Leads right under his fancy meeting room." Vargas studied the diagram. "We could plant the prototype beneath them. Activate its full pulse. It'll fry every unshielded device in the building. And kill the power," Ruiz realized. "Including security systems." Santos whistled low. "That's your play?" "Blackout Manhattan." "Just one building," Varga corrected. "Long enough to get Lena out." Ruiz checked the pistol's magazine. 3 rounds left. "Malik, can you get us in?" The delivery rider grinned. "For this?" "Hell yes." They split up at the station exit. Santos to call in favors with what honest cops remained, Malik to prep his cousin's security credentials, Varga and Ruiz to acquire appropriate attire from a nearby construction site. The morning sun felt alien after hours underground. Ruiz blinked against the glare as they approached a high-rise construction zone, its workers just starting their shifts. 2 hard hats and orange vests later, they blended seamlessly into the flow of tradesmen. Varga adjusted his ill-fitting vest. "You sure about this?" Ruiz watched a police cruiser roll past without slowing. "No, but it's the only move we've got." The walk to 55 Water Street took 15 tense minutes. The HydraCorp tower speared into the sky like a glass dagger, its mirrored surface reflecting the Brooklyn Bridge. A discreet service entrance buzzed with activity, deliveries, janitorial staff, HVAC technicians. Malik waited by a loading dock, his usual bike messenger gear replaced by a too large security uniform. Cousin's on lunch break. We've got 20 minutes before they notice his badge is missing. They rode the service elevator in silence, Malik swiping the stolen keycard at each security checkpoint. The car smelled of disinfectant and fried food from some workers' forgotten breakfast. Floor 43. The doors opened onto a narrow maintenance corridor. Malik led them past humming server racks and electrical panels to a small access hatch. "This drops you right above their boardroom. Vaughn's got a 9 a.m. meeting. Should be starting now." Ruiz peered through the grate. Below, a dozen men in tailored suits sat around a gleaming table. At its head, Vaughn sipped espresso while 2 armed guards flanked a battered but defiant Lena. Varga's breath hitched. Ruiz squeezed his wrist in warning. On the table before Vaughn sat a sleek silver case, a smaller, refined version of Varga's prototype. "Gentlemen," Vaughn purred, "meet HydraCorp's newest water purification system. Patent pending, of course." A board member leaned in. "The Varga design?" "Improved," Vaughn corrected. "Our R&D team removed the problematic elements." He shot Lena a venomous smile. Once we retrieve the original from those fugitives, any unfortunate similarities will be irrelevant. Ruiz's fingers itched for her pistol. Varga, however, was already moving, quietly unscrewing the access panel to reveal a nest of wiring. He pulled the prototype from the backpack, its duct-taped edges looking painfully crude next to HydraCorp's polished counterfeit. Malik checked his watch. Santos should be. The building's fire alarm cut him off. Klaxons wailed as sprinklers activated on lower floors. In the boardroom below, suits scrambled for the exits while Vaughn bellowed orders. Now, Varga activated the prototype and shoved it into the wiring conduit. The LED flared blindingly bright before the entire building plunged into darkness. Emergency lights flickered on, dim red bulbs that painted the maintenance corridor in bloody hues. From below came shouts, the crash of overturned furniture, Vaughn screaming about backup generators. Ruiz kicked open the access hatch. Malik, guard this exit. Varga, with me. They dropped into chaos. The boardroom's floor-to-ceiling windows now reflected only the red glow of exit signs. Lena had somehow overturned her chair, rolling toward cover while her captors stumbled blindly. Ruiz took down the first guard with a pistol whip to the temple. The second drew his weapon, then collapsed as Varga brained him with a fire extinguisher. Lena's wrists were zip-tied, her left eye swollen shut. Took you long enough, she gasped as Varga sawed through the restraints with a pocket knife. A gunshot shattered what remained of the windows. Vaughn stood silhouetted in the emergency exit, a sleek silver pistol in hand. Enough, he roared. Ruiz shoved Lena behind the conference table as Vaughn fired again. The bullet sparked off the steel chair where her head had been. You're finished, Vaughn, Ruiz called. The schematics are all ready. On their way to every major news outlet. Vaughn chuckled. Do you know how many patents I own? How many judges are on my payroll? He stepped closer, his Italian loafers crunching glass. That device belongs to HydraCorp, just like your lives do now. The building gave a sudden lurch. Outside, the whine of helicopter blades grew louder. News choppers, drawn by the blackout and alarm. Vaughn's smile turned feral. Right on time for the show. He raised his pistol, not at them, but at the prototype still pulsing in the wiring conduit. Let's give them a real spectacle. The gunshot echoed like a cannon blast in the enclosed space. The prototype exploded in a shower of sparks, its casing melting as the core overloaded. Ruiz lunged as Vaughn turned the gun toward Lena. They crashed through the broken windows onto the terrace beyond. The pistol skittered across the concrete as they grappled, Vaughn's manicured nails raking at her eyes. You're nothing, he spat. A nobody cop who. Ruiz's elbow connected with his jaw. Vaughn staggered back, too close to the terrace edge. For a heart-stopping moment, he windmilled his arms over the 43-story drop. Then his hand caught the railing. His perfect hair was mussed, his tie askew, but his smirk returned as he glanced at the gathering news helicopters. Too late, officer. The only prototype left is mine, and without yours to compare. He shrugged. Who will they believe? Ruiz looked back through the shattered window. Varga knelt beside the smoldering remains of his life's work, his shoulders slumped. Lena clutched his arm, her face a mask of despair. Then Malik's voice crackled from the service hatch. Guys? You might want to see this. Ruiz dragged Vaughn inside as the building's emergency lights flickered, then steadied. The screens along the boardroom walls buzzed to life, displaying the same image across every monitor. A live feed of this very room, from multiple angles. Vaughn's confession played on loop. Jade's voice came through hidden speakers. HydraCorp's backup generators just restored power to our hacked servers. Enjoy the show, asshole. Vaughn's face went slack as he realized. Every news helicopter, every phone in Manhattan, was now broadcasting his admission. The schematics scrolled alongside, watermarked with timestamps proving HydraCorp had stolen them. Outside, the wail of unmarked police sirens grew louder. Not HydraCorp's bot cops, real officers. Santos must have called in every favor he had. Vargas stood slowly, cradling the prototype's shattered casing. You were right about one thing, Vaughn. This does belong to HydraCorp now. He tapped the device's exposed core, making the LED sputter back to life. Because we're giving it to the world. For free. The first NYPD tactical team burst through the doors just as the news helicopters zoomed in. Vaughn's perfect facade finally cracked. his scream of rage drowned out by the rotors as Ruiz slapped cuffs on his wrists. But even as the officers led him away, even as Lena embraced Varga and Malik hooped in triumph, Ruiz kept scanning the skyline. HydraCorp was a hydra, cut off one head, and two more grew. Vaughn might fall, but the system that created him remained. And somewhere out there, new enemies were already stirring. The rooftop of 55 Water Street had never been so crowded. News helicopters circled like vultures as NYPD officers escorted Nathan Vaughn past a gauntlet of flashing cameras. His $1,000 tie was crooked now, his polished veneer shattered. Ruiz watched from the shadows of a maintenance shed, her fingers still trembling from the fight. The weight of the past 48 hours pressed down on her shoulders, the chases, the betrayals, the moments she'd nearly died. Beside her, Varga cradled the remains of his prototype like a grieving parent. "You okay?" she asked. He turned the shattered casing in his hands. "This was version 47. I have all the schematics memorized." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Version 48 will be better." Below them on the street, a crowd had gathered. People pointed at the news vans, at the scrolling headlines. HydraCorp CEO arrested, water filter scandal exposed. A little girl sat on her father's shoulders, sipping from a water bottle with the HydraCorp logo. Ruiz's throat tightened. Santos emerged from the stairwell, his dress shirt stained with blood and sweat. "Internal Affairs wants statements. They're offering you your badge back, Maria." The words should have brought relief. Instead, Ruiz felt only a hollow ache. That badge had nearly gotten them all killed. What about them? She nodded to where Lena and Malik stood with the Hacksmith Collective, giving interviews to indie journalists. Immunity deals. HydraCorp's lawyers are already scrambling to distance themselves from Vaughn. Santos hesitated. "You could come back, you know. Be a hero." The morning sun painted the skyline in gold and pink. Somewhere beyond the chaos, the city kept waking up, commuters buying coffee, kids heading to school, lives unchanged by their battle. Varga touched her arm. "They'll need someone to oversee the prototype's rollout. Make sure it reaches the communities that need it most." Ruiz studied her reflection in a broken window, the bruises, the dirt, the eyes that had seen too much. She wasn't the same cop who'd first spotted that suspicious backpack. She unpinned her badge from its soggy uniform flap and pressed it into Santos's hand. "Tell IA I'll testify, but I'm done carrying their tin." As she walked away, the rising sun at her back, the little girl on the street below caught her eye. Ruiz reached into her pocket and pulled out the only undamaged piece of the prototype, its blinking LED core. She tossed it gently downward. The child caught it with a giggle, her tiny fingers closing around the pulsing blue light.